Okay, is anybody here a mathematician? Quick, I need some quick math. 55 minus 35 equals 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, carry the ones, we have 15, 20. 20 days left. That is less than 21, which means it's like less than 3 weeks, which is kind of hard to believe. And on the other hand, maybe not, because it's as if we've been here forever, because it is kind of a strange connection that we all have with time right now. But here's what I want to tell you. No longer will I say, hey, if you're just starting, you could achieve anything in the 55 days, because we only have 20 days left. But if you've started to some degree, you could really maximize the next 20 days and even still see significant change. Now, if you're just here for the first time, then start. It's okay. And you could go back to the very beginning, which would be awesome, because then you could follow the whole program and you won't complete it the same day as we do live. But there's nothing to say that you can't just complete it at your own pace. So here we are in day 35, and last week I gave you a tool. Everyone who was here knows what I'm talking about. And once you had that tool, I said to you, from that moment forward, you have everything you need. You have an eating plan. Not only do you have an eating plan, you have a recipe book. And not only do you have a recipe book, you have Tammy in the kitchen showing you how to make the foods. I mean, who else has all of that? You have the exercise routine. And not only do you have the exercise routine, you have coaches who will show you how to go through it. Troy, in stripes today, after a very, very smooth escape from wherever he was being held, managed to show you how you can do the routine even if you don't have any equipment. And Holly's been amazing working with her active agers. And for those of you who like the challenge and want the challenge, you've had Holden. And you've seen Kristen and Angelica and Aileen take you through musical versions of the... I mean, it's all here for you. All you have to do is embrace it. You have the resource, which is this group and this webinar. And as of last week, you had the weapon, you had the tool. Now, when we speak about mindset, we recognize that it is a very, very powerful variable. And it is perhaps the key determinant as to how well you do with a program like this. And what we came to understand is if we identify what's going on in our subconscious mind, it reveals itself through our inner voice, through our inner talk. And when we start to zero in on that even a little bit, we catch ourselves in our head communicating with ourselves using words like can't and but. And when we quiet that voice and change that internal language, we start to stop the EEM, the emotional experiential memory, from restricting us as much as it may have, and we can now better connect with new possibility. And by using the tool that I shared with you, you get to a place where your inner language changes and you start to use words like, I can do this, even stronger, I will do this, and if you're following the exercise, you get to, I must do this. What we all concluded together last week was that we can manifest whatever outcome we set for ourselves. And starting to create the future memory and starting to think in line with that future memory makes that manifestation happen even before we can see, feel, and touch it with our senses. The tool that I shared with you is what I called the manifesting tool of TAO. TAO is an acronym. It stands for thoughts, actions, and outcomes. Your thoughts will dictate your actions. Your actions will dictate your outcome. So if you want to have a different or better outcome than you've been experiencing, you have to change your thoughts. So hopefully you understood that. Hopefully you befriended that concept. And hopefully in this past week, you've used the tool and you've really come to love the process with the journal. I told you have a resource. I outlined the whole thing for you at the very beginning, and I told you week by week we're going to go through it. Well, that's exactly what we're doing. So here we are in week 6, and this week we're going to continue to recompose. Now, in the last couple of weeks, we were really focused on fat burning. And I know based on our private conversations, some of you have really seen some fat loss, and others are just starting to see a little bit. We're going to continue that. I don't want you to think that we're moving away from fat loss, because when we talk about fat loss, remember I use the term recomp. We are reducing the excess fat, and we are hopefully replacing it with new muscle. So we're changing the composition of our body, but we're adding in another element now that's vitally important. We're going to cleanse. That doesn't mean clean your house, although you might want to if you've been home a lot, if the kids are home. But I'm talking about cleaning house on the inside. And we're going to bridge our nutrition into the third phase of circadian nutrition. So I want to prepare you before we get into the nitty-gritty. This week, we're going to discuss fat loss and cleansing, and another word for cleansing is detox. But I'm going to give you some insight and some potential warnings about the concept of detox. We're going to continue with the concept of supersets as far as the exercise, but I'm going to give you the option of integrating a variety of muscle fiber types. You'll continue the cardio with the all-out bursts and the sprints. And if you look at the next line, it says carbohydrate manipulation, that's glycogen depletion, which we've been doing with the protein days, and supercompensation, which you guys love. Transitioning. That means we're moving to the next phase into a different phase of circadian nutrition. And you will continue to manifest your future memory and turn that thought into something actually tangible that you can see in the mirror and touch and use your five senses. Okay, now, as we get into this concept of adding detox, it's important that I do not confuse you. It's really important. Because when we get confused, we get stuck. The monsters thrive on confusion. I mean, imagine like sitting in a math class and procrastination shows up and you realize you didn't do your homework. And you're sitting there thinking of the excuse you're going to come up with, and then distraction starts you looking out the window and you're watching something going on. And then the negative talk monster shows up and starts to tell you you're never going to pass this class. And you start to worry about it. And then you look up and the teacher's writing some kind of equations and you have no idea what to do. You're just confused. You're stuck. You don't move any further because you're stuck. So I don't want to get you into that space, because the monsters thrive in an environment where you are confused. Confusion leads to inertia. Inertia means you stop forward motion. And we want to reject that thought at all costs. We together can love each other. We can love our power. We can love the world around us. But for ourselves, for the moment through this 55 days, together, let's hate inertia. Let's hate it. That doesn't mean you shouldn't be still and meditate. It doesn't mean you shouldn't be still. It means you should not allow your forward motion to come to a halt. So understand this. I'm going to share some concepts with you. But my intention is not to confuse you. So it is perfectly all right for somebody to hold up their hand and just type in the chat window, "I'm confused." And I'll stop. I won't stop forward motion. I'll stop confusing you, and we'll take it from there. And I'm also going to give you some sort of panic options. So if you start to feel this week, oh my God, I don't know what to do, I'm going to give you some options. Okay, so I'm saying this before I get into the next phase, because I don't want you to just sit there confused. I want you to hold up your hand and tell me you're confused and know that there's somewhere else to go, because my intention is to make this simple, even though the concepts are a little bit confusing, potentially. I said that the monsters thrive on inertia. Well, I'm going to now say that inertia is even worse than battling monsters. Because when you are battling monsters, at least you're in motion. You know, you're in the fight. Inertia is when you just stop. And I've seen it happen so often, and more often than not, when somebody's making forward progress and then they reach that moment of inertia, it's overwhelm, it's stress. And confusion can create that. So I'm sharing this with you so you know to look out for it, and you ask me or the coaches to help. Now, why do I say inertia is worse? Well, it's worse because it means your forward motion stops. However, we live in a universe of entropy. Entropy means everything in the universe is breaking down. I mean, this is really a twisted thought, but from the moment that you come into this world, you're moving toward death. So as we pass a certain age, we work hard to slow entropy, to keep ourselves together. So if you are walking up the down escalator and you're staying in place, I want you to get that visual of that emotion. You're walking up the down escalator, you're staying in place. That's still forward motion because you're moving one foot in front of the other, but entropy is pushing you down, so you're resisting entropy. But now if you stop, that down escalator brings you down. So I'm sharing this with you so you watch out for that pitfall. So to be simple, we will keep the exercise routine exactly the same, except with a little change. And the change is optional. We will continue to use the TAO of Manifesting tool that I shared with you. This is familiar. Hopefully you're coming to enjoy the association with thoughts, actions, outcomes in your journal. We will transition from fat loss to recomp and detox, but we'll do it in a way that I hope you'll nod your head and say, I get it. We will move not from phase 1, but actually from phase 2 to phase 3 of Circadian Nutrition. And we will embrace some options to prevent you from getting stuck. So here are the Inertia-Busters. These are deals that we're making right now. First one, you do not have to change anything. That's it. So everything I share with you tonight, if you get a sense of I'm confused, I'm going to say, then don't even pay attention. Don't change anything. As long as the exercise routine that you're following right now is bringing you benefit, you don't have to change anything. So why am I sharing it with you? Because I'm giving you an option. Second deal, if you feel lost, overwhelmed, or uncertain as to where you are in the program, just switch to the functional 6 and metabolic eating. That's it. So now you know where to go. If you go, wait a minute, I don't know where to go. You know where to go. Functional 6 and metabolic eating. Third deal, you do not have to do protein days. Can you? Yes. Do some of you like them? Yes. Do some of you like the outcome of the protein days? Yes. Do some of you not yet know how much you will like the outcome of the protein days? Yes. But do you have to do them? No. If they are overly challenging or uncomfortable or they feel overly prohibitive, just stay the course, and I'm promising you're going to lose fat anyway. They help amplify the fat loss, but you don't need them. And we're going to go into a phase of circadian nutrition where I'm going to use the term intermittent eating, but many people call it intermittent fasting. And the word fasting sounds unpleasant. It sounds like deprivation. So, here's the fourth deal. You don't have to fast at all. And any explanation that I present related to this intermittent eating is simply for you to consider. Now, if you choose to do it, great. This tool is something that I am promising you for the remainder of my very long career. There are many, many, many years to come, many great adventures ahead of me. This will become a pivotal part of it. In workshops, in seminars, in presentations, I'm going to share this. In my courses and my programs that have not yet been developed, they will include this. So you are a pioneer in using this tool. I've been using it. I have it laminated. I've been giving them as gifts to people I know. You could laminate it. You just get some laminating paper, the sticky plastic stuff, and you print it out on your printer. Yes, it uses a lot of ink, but it's worth it. And honestly, it gives you a sense of true control over your outcome. You hold it up in the upper left corner of 2 pages open in your journal, and you follow the format that I laid out last week. And it's just laid out, 1, 2, 3. It tells you exactly what to do. And here's where you gain control over that mindset. And you use those statements using the words, I can, I will, I must. And you create your action plan. So if you do this every day and you agree to those deals that I just laid out, then you can never hit inertia. So now you have the inertia-busting deals and you have the inertia-busting tool. So there are no excuses. What do we know? We know we can recompose. We also know that we can detoxify. How do we know? Well, because I told you that we're going to talk about that. So we can recompose and we can detoxify. And this week, the two will go hand in hand. Detox is almost a trendy word. You know, I see it on a lot of the supermarket checkout magazines. Cucumber detox. Detox your gut away. Detox and be 30 years younger. Detox your skin. Now, if that word is used on those magazines, here's what we know. It sells magazines. It gets people's attention. And when something sells and when it gets people's attention, typically the words get overused. So now people come out with products, and there's detox tea, and there's detox creams, and there's detox breakfast. Before we get into how we will detoxify, let's understand, for our purposes, improving your health, your immunity, the way your body looks, feels, and functions, why in the world do we want to detox? Well, the way that our metabolisms operate is based upon a great many factors, and many of them feed and support metabolism. When I talk about metabolic eating, we're eating in a way that is supportive of metabolism, where lots of people are consuming lots of energy disruptors, and they're working against the nature of metabolism. So our metabolism is affected by a number of factors, and I think one that we tend to neglect is the environment. What comes at us? And when people are thinking about improving their health, they often think about what to put in their body. Right now, people are talking about vitamin C and zinc and vitamin D3, and they should be, because they're thinking about what to put in. But they tend to neglect those things that got in that shouldn't be in, and let's figure out how to get them out. When I was growing up, pollution was a thing. It was a problem, pollution. And we'd see car exhaust, and we'd see smoke coming out of factories, and we'd say, there's air pollution, it's terrible. And we go indoors where it's safe. Today, we've reduced much of the external pollution. And we've created beautiful things that are really fancy, like furniture and nice carpet that you could spill stuff on and clean it right up, and couches that your baby can pee on and you can just wipe it up. And the dog can pee on it too for a short while. I mean, sooner or later it's just overwhelmed. But all of these things become these things because of chemicals, and the chemicals off-gas into the air. So we are surrounded by environmental pollutants that are not necessarily smoke. They look friendly. You put a spray next to the laundry room, so you spray the kids' sneakers. And you go, oh, it smells like flowers. Well, guess what we're spraying into that room? Environmental pollutants. And when we take drugs, and I'm talking about medically prescribed drugs, in many cases we're putting things into our cells that should not stay there. And carcinogens and the preservatives that make food appear to be fresh when the food is actually becoming toxic. And if you live on a beautiful manicured golf course, then you look out your window and you go, look how green everything is, and it is. And every once in a while, the guys come by with the masks. I'm not talking about COVID masks. I'm just talking about they're wearing a hat, they're wearing masks, or they have even like a face shield, or they have the N95 mask. Where else have you seen it? And they're spraying to make the grass look pretty. Because the spray kills the bugs. And what are the bugs? Living organisms. So the spray that kills the bugs is not your friend. So herbicides and pesticides, and we've heard a lot about heavy metals that get into our systems and into our brain cells. So your body is taking these things on. And unless you do something to get them out, you run the very real risk of becoming toxic. And toxic is not a moment in time. It's gradual. And you've heard me talk about the stress bucket. And I said to you, it's as if you have this organ that's a bucket, and you can handle stress. And as the bucket holds the stress slowly drains out. And as long as you can manage or mitigate the stress, you're okay. But in the moment that the stress gets overwhelming, your bucket overflows. When we talk about stress, we don't mean only emotional stress. We also mean toxic stress. So over time, all of these things build up. So if we can effectively detox, well, then we can get those toxins that have inhabited tissue and cell out. And when we get them out, we improve cellular function, we improve performance. And when we get those toxins out, we reverse the progression of disease. And we rediscover metabolism, and we rediscover energy. And our immune system stops fighting against things that it doesn't recognize, and it starts to fight against the true pathogens you wish it would fight against. And it protects you. And inflammation, which is the root cause of all disease, reverses. And you get healthier. And your hair and your nails and your skin look better, function better, and your brain gets better. So detox is sounding pretty good, right? Don't we just naturally get rid of toxins? Yes, our bodies are very good. They come with filters that get rid of toxins. But again, there's the concept of the bucket. And when the bucket overflows, then your biology gets overwhelmed. So the liver is working very hard to filter things out through your bloodstream. But the problem is, things get past the liver. They overwhelm the liver. They make it into the cells, and they don't get taken out by the liver. So now we have toxins living in cellular tissue, in the tissue structures and organs in your gut. And they change the microbiome, and they change the ratio of bad bacteria to good bacteria, and this allows for more toxins to move in. And we develop leaky gut, and we have less control. And when we first introduced the concept of activating lymph, I told you about how the lymphatic system gets gunked up. Those are toxins that are not leaving your body. So in this world, if we trust our own natural abilities, sooner or later we're likely to get overwhelmed. So is detoxification important? Well, if all the things that I just said seem important to you, like brain health and reversing disease, then yeah, this is really important. But I see a lot of people make mistakes because they get caught up in the word. They go, I'm going to do a detox. I don't think you should do a detox. I think you should integrate detoxification into your lifestyle, into the program you follow. So if you have followed along since day one, at the very beginning you stopped eating genetically modified foods, you stopped eating foods with preservatives in them, so you started to detoxify already. It's not that we're just starting it. You've stopped taking in energy disruptors. You reduced or eliminated alcohol. So we are detoxifying through this whole process. And if you got to a point where you go, oh my God, my brain is sharper, I don't have brain fog anymore, my energy is better, a huge part of that is because you've gotten the toxins out. So a part of the mistake is the sudden commitment to do a detox, as if it's a thing you're going to do for a short period of time. So I want you to understand, we've been burning fat all along. We just focused more on it in one part of the program. We've been working on metabolism all along. We just focused more on it in one part of the program. So we're integrating detox all along. We're never not detoxing when we're following this program. We're just now in this phase having a greater focus on it. So one of the mistakes people make is they detox a system. They go, oh, I need a gallbladder cleanse, or I need a liver cleanse, and they read an article, and they go, oh, got to have a colon cleanse. And the worst marketing is when you believe that this colon cleanse is going to make you lose weight. Might it make you lose weight? Yeah. But is it really leading to your long-term health? No, it's one system. So a big mistake is detoxing a system at the expense of the blood and the gut and the cells. People think detoxifying means taking something that makes you spend a fair amount of time in the bathroom. And that too could be illusion. I mean, it's not illusion, it really is coming out of you, but illusion in that in the short term you may weigh less. And for a couple of days you may feel better, but you're not fixing the cell. Sometimes people go back to the detox. They go, oh, when I was on the detox, I was 10 pounds lighter. I'm going to do the detox again. It shouldn't be something you start and stop. Very often, because people suddenly focus on what they want to get out of the body, they stop focusing during a detox period on what they put in. So they wind up with nutrient deficiency. And another thing that people do is they think the detox has to be nutritional, and they continue to use toxic shampoos and skincare products and things that they put all over their body because they never stop to think about what puts the fragrance in the moisturizer. So understand, this is a part of everything that we do. So we detoxify all the way through the 55 days, but now we're going to make a nutritional shift that allows us to focus a little bit more on getting the bad stuff out. So 3 phases of circadian nutrition. The first one was really about putting the right stuff in to feed metabolism. The second phase, we manipulated intake of carbohydrates so that we could release and burn more fat, and we're still in that phase. But the one yet to come is organic cleansing. Consuming only natural foods with ample nutrients and anti-inflammatory compounds, resetting the toxicity thermostat by using intermittent eating. So 3 phases. Phase 1, you made it through successfully. Phase 2 we're in now. And now we're going to move into phase 3, which intermittent fasting, I call intermittent eating because of the way we do it. It's not about the fast. It's about the timing of the eating. So in this week, we're going to bridge our way into it. Let me just ask, is anybody confused? I'm going to give you some specifics. But before I do, I just want to make sure we're clear. Is anybody confused? Okay, I'm watching the responses. We go forward. Intermittent fasting means we have periods through the day where we eat and periods where we don't. So whether we call it intermittent fasting or intermittent eating, it's the same thing. We are alternating periods during which we eat and which we fast. Now, in all fairness, when you go to bed, 11 o'clock at night, you stay in bed and you typically don't eat until you wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning. So we can consider that's the fast, and then the first meal of the day we call break fast, right? So we're just extending that phase. Intermittent eating or intermittent fasting does some really amazing things. One is insulin is the most anabolic hormone. I spoke about we eat food because of anabolism. We want to build new tissue. Insulin, which when it runs counter to optimal, can contribute to fat accumulation, becomes your very good friend in helping you build new tissue. Also, we continue to reduce glycogen storage, which you now understand from phase 2 is very valuable in coaxing fat release. the first actual meal that you have after an intermittent fast increases the production of growth hormone. And cellular optimization in terms of repair, cellular integrity, is enhanced and accelerated when we use this type of nutrition. I want to tell you that most people, when they get used to it, which really takes a day or two, seriously, but most people, when they get used to it, love the way they feel with this type of eating program. And I want to discourage you from believing it's what you should do forever without a break from it. It is a beautiful, vital part of the circadian nutrition plan. So if you understand the three parts of circadian nutrition, metabolic eating, followed by fat loss, followed by intermittent fasting or intermittent eating, you then have the perfect nutrition plan. Now, the way that we do it, it's not a fast in which you suffer by any means. And because we're adding in the focus on detoxifying without sacrificing nutrition, we're not actually doing a very lengthy fast. We're just being selective in how and when we put certain nutritional compounds into the body. So every morning, rather than eating break fast, you're going to start the day during this intermittent eating phase by taking an organic lemon and squeezing it into warm water and drinking it. There are so many benefits to this. But for our purposes, limonene, which is a component of lemon, in fact, you'll find it in many of the newer immunity nutritional supplements, but we get it naturally in an organic lemon, is antibacterial, antimicrobial. It's why they put lemon in cleaning products. Although we think of it as acidic, actually when it is in your gut, it really helps to contribute to an alkaline environment. But one of the great things about doing this, waking up in the morning and starting the day with lemon, organic lemon, squeezed into some warm water, is it makes your digestive tract feel as if you're eating. It tricks your entire gut lining. So you start the peristalsis process. You start movement of the smooth muscles because your digestive system is preparing to move food. But there is no food. There's just lemon water. So as those muscles begin to move, they are literally cleansing the walls of the entire digestive tract. So you start the day with lemon and water, and you put a pinch of sea salt on your tongue. That's just to make sure you get adequate sodium, which we've been led to believe is a bad thing. I'm not talking about table salt, I'm talking about sea salt. At around 2 o'clock, you're going to make a green drink. I'm going to tell you what to put in it. You're going to be surprised how much you wind up enjoying it, even if you don't the first day. You're going to be surprised how much you look forward to it and that it makes you feel satiated. Not a protein drink. And then in the window in which you're going to eat, which is only 4 hours, you're going to have 2 meals. In each meal, you will have an adequate serving of protein, some good fat, and some veggies. And then before you go to bed, you're going to have some golden milk. At first, many of you will think this is weird. It is an Ayurvedic drink. You make it with turmeric and coconut oil. It's got a yellow color to it, and at first, sort of an odd flavor and texture. But you will come to love this, because one of the most common questions I get is, even though I'm moving back into phase 1, can I continue with the golden milk? And the answer is yes. It is an amazing anti-inflammatory compound, and it becomes really enjoyable. So I'm looking at the chat window now, and I'm seeing things like thumbs up, love it, crazy about that, and I'm not sure when those things came in. But I just want to ask somebody here, to just vouch for what I'm saying for anybody who has never tried this before, because it sounds really strange to most people that the green drink can be good and that this golden milk thing can be really good. So just give me some love here and say, yes, he's telling you the truth. Now, I've spoken about supplements. Of course, we're in a place, in a season where we're focusing on immunity. I do use a particular brand of supplements called Thrive. I've restrained from talking about it much in the group, but I am going to, not tonight. But I'm going to give you the option of hearing about it because it's an amazing product line. It's something that not only do I use, but I encourage other people to use. But I never wanted to make it sound like a pitch. I don't want this group to be about that. But we are in a phase of the program where I'm going to encourage you to use a prebiotic and a probiotic and digestive enzymes and an antioxidant. And I'm just going to say it's all in there. So that's the reason I'm mentioning it now. What I'm sharing with you is also a part of my Metabolic Reboot program. And in that program, when I talk about these supplements, typically people will spend about $250 a month. They don't buy the product from me. They go to a store, and I tell them what to ask for. For example, I say go to a store and don't buy like the cheap probiotic that's on the shelves of the convenience store. Make sure that you're getting a probiotic that has 50 billion colony-forming units from at least 5 different strains. So they get educated in what to look for, but these things aren't really cheap. They're not the discount brands typically. So I'm sharing that because if you do want to look into Thrive, we will talk about it. I'll give you the opportunity. You could reach out to me or any of the coaches, and we can talk to you about it. Okay, so the organic lemon water is how you will start the day, first thing in the morning, pinch of sea salt. And for those people who are looking to boost metabolism, if you want to be a little adventurous, you add a sprinkle of cayenne pepper. It gives it a little bit of a kick. I happen to love it, but if you put in too much, you will pay a small price. The green smoothie. You get a blender, not a juicer. This is not a juice because you want the fiber. You want all of the good stuff that's in these green vegetables. So you're going to take some nice green romaine lettuce and blend it up. And you're going to be surprised how you could take a big head of lettuce and it just blends up to like a little bit in the blender. But all of it goes in there. You're not juicing it. You're blending it. Then you're going to take something even darker green like kale or baby spinach and put some of that in. Now we're going to get some really good fiber from some celery sticks, organic of course. I've come to learn that some people like cilantro and some people for a genetic reason don't. So if you're one of the people who like cilantro, put it in there. Personally, I love it. But if you hate cilantro, you could skip that. And a medium-sized cucumber, and that's it. You blend it up and you drink it. Now, if you're looking at your screen, you're going, well, why is there more, Phil, if you stop there? It says, and if you need it for taste. Well, we know that if we're looking to lose fat, it's better if we don't have a whole lot of fruit. And many of the smoothies that are sold commercially with fruit are very high in sugar. So they make the smoothie taste good by loading it up with sugar. Now, if you have developed a taste for that type of smoothie, the first time you have this green smoothie, the way I just outlined it, you won't love it because it smells like your lawn smells after it's mowed. And it kind of tastes like that. I'm promising you this. Very quickly you will acquire a taste for it. But if at first you go, ugh, then you could put in an apple, not a very sweet apple. A green apple would be good, a Granny Smith, or an organic pear. And if you want to add a frozen banana, it gives it more of a, I don't want to pretend it's a milkshake, but it gives it more of like a frothy consistency to it. So, if you're somebody who's going to go, it's going to take me a while to like the green smoothie, then add these things. And then a little at a time, you'll need them less and less. All right, and thankfully I did get some testimony here. I also got a comment from Dr. Camella that says, LOL, totally white girls from Midwest think cilantro tastes like soap. So there it is. Some people love cilantro, and some people, especially white girls from the Midwest, don't add the cilantro. Okay? Ariel, though, is the exception to the rule. She's a white girl from the Midwest. She loves cilantro. So it's a very individual thing. If you're hearing me pause, I'm trying to go back and look at the texts I missed. So I see that Tasso asked, can you put avocado in? You can. But that's not what we're looking for right now. The avocado would be really good as the fat source in one of the meals later in the day, but the whole idea is we're getting really good nutrients, really good phytochemicals, we're getting micronutrients, we're getting antioxidants, we're getting all the things that are in these natural organic green vegetables, and we're moving things efficiently through the entire digestive system. So really what we're looking for more than anything is the fiber. The good fat will come into play within the meals. But if you would love to put in avocado, yeah, you can. Okay, golden milk, here's the recipe. The first thing you have to do, and you do this once, maybe every 10 days. If you love golden milk, maybe once a week. You have to make the paste, because the paste is an ingredient. So you take a lot of turmeric. You could just use the spice, the powdered spice. You don't have to grind up the root. But you get turmeric, and you take 4 heaping tablespoons, a lot of turmeric, and 1 teaspoon of black pepper, because black pepper contains something called piperine that activates the beneficial compounds that make turmeric such an amazing anti-inflammatory. So you take 4 heaping teaspoons of turmeric, 4 heaping tablespoons of turmeric, 1 teaspoon of black pepper. You put them in a pan with a small amount of water, and you boil it. Tammy says she will make this on one of her segments, which is great. Now, I'm warning you, when you boil this, it's just a small amount of water, watch the pot. I've heard it said that a watched pot never boils, but it does. So watch the pot. It's not like staring at your cell phone. You can't flip around through Facebook, but you could spend 4 minutes of your life looking at a pot, and I'm going to tell you why. Because when it boils, it happens quick, and if you don't grab it, it boils over, and everything in your kitchen becomes coated with this yellow paste. So that's the only danger here, is your whole kitchen can turn yellow, okay? But to avoid that, just watch the pot and don't let it burn over. So you make the paste, and then you just mix it up, and you put it aside, and you let it cool, and you put it in a little Tupperware container, and you keep it in your fridge. Okay, so the paste is just the prequel. Now, when you're ready to make the golden milk, which will be every evening, really simple. You just take some almond milk or coconut milk, or you can use water, with half a teaspoon of the paste. You boil it, and then you take a tablespoon of coconut oil, and it starts to boil, and you mix it up. Now, if you don't mix it, you're going to see the oil globs floating on the top. And again, at first, if you've never had this before, it's kind of a weird consistency. But you mix it, and over time, and when I say time, I mean 3 or 4 days in, most people really love it. There's something about it that is just comforting. And then you let it stand, and then you drink it. And you drink it when it's hot. Not super hot, but you let it cool, and you kind of sip it like a cup of tea. And it makes you feel relaxed, and it is completely natural, and it reverses inflammation. So does it get any better than that? So, you know, it's one of these Ayurvedic cures. It's one of these ancient Indian secrets. And now you have access to the secret. And it's better than any drug, and there's absolutely zero downside. If at first you say, ugh, it kind of tastes like curry and it's oily and I don't like it, put in some cinnamon. Sprinkle some cinnamon, or actually put a cinnamon stick in there. And I find it makes it taste really good. Now, if you're still not sold on it, then you could put in some raw organic honey. And that makes it taste great for everyone, no matter what. But I want you to know, honey is really, really good if it's truly raw organic honey. The elixir of the gods, it was used for the Olympic athletes back in ancient Greece. There are some tremendous health benefits and lots of enzymes, and raw honey, of course, is superior. But as soon as you heat raw honey, it's no longer raw. So I don't want you to fool yourself into thinking this is making it healthier. It is adding some sugar. Okay, but if you use raw organic honey and it makes it taste good and you start to consume it, it's worth it. We got some comments here, and Tammy is going to address all of these comments when she makes her golden milk on her show, and I'm looking forward to that. Kristen uses raw honey that has CBD in it. Super yummy and good for brain. She uses Beekeepers. That's the brand. Also, on coconut oil, she had to work her way up to 1 tablespoon, sometimes makes stomach a little funny. But you said work your way up, so you get to the point that you adapt to it. So as I said, it is a weird consistency at first, but then you really come to love it. Okay, so everything that I shared with you is for next week. You don't have to do any of it. Well, then why are you talking about it now, Phil? Because this week is the transition. So my intention was to not confuse you, to make sure that you can get through this week without being confused, and now you will ease into next week actually looking forward to this. Because it's not like I'm suddenly dropping out of the sky. You're going to wake up and have lemon, and then you're going to have a green smoothie, and then you're going to drink turmeric. By the time we get to next week, you're going to go, okay, I'm indoctrinated. So here's what your days look like for this intermittent eating. In the morning, organic lemon, pinch sea salt. 2 o'clock, your green drink with the supplements. Between 4 and 8, you're going to have 2 meals. The first one at 4, the second one at, let's say, 7:15. You want to finish the second meal at 8 o'clock. So you have this 4-hour window in which you're going to eat. I don't want you to weigh and measure your food. I know some of you are very hung up on that. You're afraid to eat too much. Trust your appetite. You're going to be surprised how much you could eat and not gain fat, and how amazing you feel throughout the entire day. The first day, you will probably feel hungry, but it's more psychological than anything else. Physiologically, you will not stimulate hunger. So once you're 2-3 days into this intermittent eating, you're going to be shocked. You just adapt to it. You're not hungry. You actually feel satiated after you have the lemon. You feel satiated after you have the green drink. So that's next week. Now I know you're looking forward to it. Here's a 1-page. I think I can send this to you now. Let me see if I have it. So this puts all of the rules of circadian nutrition on 1 page. If I can't get it to you now, I will post it in the group immediately. Somebody let me know if you received it. That wasn't what I intended to do, so bear with me. Holden says the golden milk is delicious. Adele says whip it good. Okay, did you receive the circadian nutrition? And now let me get back to the presentation, and we'll forge on ahead. Okay, forging. Perfect. So we're going to transition. Transition from what? From phase 2. So right now you're getting the hang of protein days. You understand what a protein day is. How did you guys enjoy the super compensation days? Really good, right? I told you that third protein day can be a little bit of a bear for some people. But when you get to that super compensation day, as soon as you have that first meal, you feel amazing. So you're going through that, and now we're making the transition. So in this week, you will do protein days. You will do a super compensation morning, and then you will do a 24-hour fast. That's the part where people react. They get nervous. 24-hour fast, a whole day without eating? Not really. You don't go a whole day without eating. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to do your protein days, and then you're going to follow them with a super compensation morning, and then you're going to have a couple of metabolic meals, and when you get to 2 o'clock, you're going to stop eating until 2 o'clock the next day when you have your green smoothie. So it's not a full day. It's a 24-hour period from 2 o'clock to 2 o'clock. And if you do feel hungry, I'm telling you it is psychological. So trust that you might have one day where you just kind of struggle with it, and you can drink a lot of water. Anybody want to comment on this? Because I know I'm looking at the people here, and I know many of you have done this. And I do know that some of these things are scary. Like when you hear 24-hour fast, you get panicky. But after you do it, you start to recognize that not only isn't it difficult, but you enjoy it. Ariel is talking to Gina, I believe. She says, Gina, tell him how it's done. This girl came from eating a processed foods. Oh, I lost it. Lots of things coming in. Hold on. This girl came from eating a processed foods diet to losing 25 pounds and loves her 24-hour fast. Heather says, I enjoy fasting. Okay, so they're supporting it. Roseanne says, it's not bad. Ariel says, yes. Pamela says, I don't like fasting, but I know it works. And Troy says, it's amazingly effective and not difficult to do, surprisingly. Karen says, I didn't like it, but my body did. Jim says, totally doable. So like everything, everybody has their own perception of it, their own opinion of it, but realize all these people, whether they enjoyed the fast itself or not, enjoyed the outcome. And I'm sure all of them are going to do it again because they recognize how valuable it is. So this week, tomorrow, super compensation day. Yes. Then Wednesday, protein day. Thursday, protein day. The transition takes place on Friday. Friday, you have your first meal, which is a super compensation meal. And then you go back to more just regular metabolic meals. So it's a protein-sparing nutrient, fibers, carb. And for some of you, it'll be 2 meals. For some of you, it'll be 3 meals. But you're going to finish at 2 o'clock. And then you're going to do your 24-hour fast. And by the time you get to Saturday, you're now in phase 3. And for the remainder of the program, you're going to stay in this intermittent eating. So no more protein days. Now, I'm promising you this. You can hold me to this. Like every shift, the first time you get into intermittent eating, the first few days are a little uncomfortable, more psychologically than anything else. But 3 or 4, definitely 5 days into it, you're going to love it. So if I'm saying now you're going to continue this for the remainder of the program, it sounds like a lot. I'm telling you, most people, when we're going to go back to metabolic eating, says, can I stay with this? Because they come to love it. Kristen says, can you comment on what to do if, say, for example, on Mother's Day, you ate Dairy Queen? I would say follow the program exactly as it's laid out, repent, and write about it in your journal, shed a few tears, and move right past it, and be the best you've ever been. And make a commitment that you will not have Dairy Queen again until next Mother's Day, and then it can become an annual ritual. Heather knows someone who had organic coconut bliss ice cream for Mother's Day. How do you like that? Okay, so what if it's all really confusing? Then remember what I told you. Just eat metabolically and follow the functional 6 routine. I gave you these Inertia-Busters. So there's no excuse. You're using your tool. You're writing in your journal. You're laying out your day. You're following it to the best of your ability. And there's no reason in the world that you should get stuck. And you have the greatest resource of all. You have the coaches who come along and rescue you. Wherever you are, they come along and rescue you. If you're inside, Troy rescues you. If you're outside, Jim Beatty rescues you. And sometimes Jim is inside and Troy is outside. Sonia shows up on Mondays, helps you get a grip and shine on. Tasso has become a part of every morning. I don't know what's going to happen, but I know a lot of people are going to go through Tasso withdrawal after the 55 days. Tony shows up and motivates you like nobody's business. So really, no excuses. I told you that I don't want to complicate the routine, so I won't. Last week you did supersets. You liked it. You liked the outcome. You're feeling good. Your muscles are feeling good. You're getting a really good workout. Am I right? Am I right? Am I right? Aileen says, I wish I could meet you all in person someday. And here's what I'm going to say. We're going to come out on the other side of this COVID thing, and people are going to start to travel again. And I am going to tell you right now that I will organize a retreat in South Florida, and it would be really nice. We will have all of the coaches and love to meet you guys in person, all 5,000 of you, or at least a good representation. Okay? So, Aileen, let's consider that a future memory rather than just a wish. So we have routine A, routine B, and then we have the functional 6. So this looks familiar because you did it last week, so we're going to keep it that way. Don't want to confuse you. And there's no need to progress unless you want to. So if you want to, here's what we do. This routine looks exactly the same. But if this were one of Holly's little mind games, brain teasers, we'd go, but what's different? I'll tell you what's different. When we look at the top, last time it said 8 to 12 reps. Now we're going to call in some different muscle fibers. And without getting too scientific or getting too far into exercise physiology, we're going to call upon the more oxidative muscle fibers, which are the ones more involved in fat burning. So for those of you who will do more than one superset, for the first superset, you will choose a weight, a resistance that allows you to get 8 to 12 repetitions. And if you're a thoroughbred, you'll go to the point of momentary muscle failure. Then when you do your next superset, you're going to go a little bit lighter. Now, I know thoroughbreds have a hard time with this initially because they want to lift more weights. But the challenge is if you go to a heavier weight, you're tapping more into the faster twitch fiber, which is less involved in fat burning. So trust me here, guys. Billy, Holden, and company. So you're just going to go to a little bit of a lighter weight on your second superset. And you're going to still bring it to that point of momentary muscle failure, but you'll fail at a little bit of a higher rep range. Lori says her arm muscles have been twitching throughout the day. Is that good or bad? Well, I wouldn't say it is good or bad. And there are certain muscle responses, including delayed onset muscle pain. That's what it is, soreness, but it's pain. And then there's also involuntary muscular contraction. And what this is a response to an uncharacteristic load. You're asking your muscles to do something they're not used to, and we're getting a response. So usually when you get a response like that, it's a process of adaptation. The first time you do a new routine, you'll get something like that, and maybe your quads will start twitching or your arms will start twitching. But a week into it, they should have adapted, and you shouldn't get that anymore until you throw a new stimulus at the body, and then you'll get it again. So as long as it's not prolonged and as long as it's not really uncomfortable, it's probably just an adaptation process. There are probably things that you can take, supplement with it that will alleviate some of it, but I wouldn't even bring it to that point. I would just say follow along with everything I've laid out, and my suspicion is it will be fine. Okay, so we got that. Then we have routine B, same thing. But you'll notice here, if you look to the right, Thoroughbred's doing 3 supersets to momentary muscle failure. The Phoenix is doing 2 supersets, so the second superset would be lighter to a point of muscle fatigue and exhaustion with a lighter weight. And the Chrysalis, last week it said 1 superset. I'm inviting you to do 2 if your recovery allows for it. So you just have to kind of trust your body. Billy is fearful that he has to go lighter, and he's beginning to melt. So remember I said, Billy, you don't have to change anything, okay? None of this is a must. So if you're getting to the place of paralysis and inertia, then just do what you need to do. This is all an option, okay? But I want to keep the routine the same, but give you a built-in opportunity to progress. You're going to do the functional 6. You're going to challenge yourself. You're going to do the sprint. You're going to do all-out bursts. All of this is familiar. Here is the one page. I just posted it in the group for the exercise for this week. Next week, the routine will change, but for now, you should have it down. I hope nobody here is confused. Are you? Let me know. You got it? Because I shared a lot of information sneakily. I got a lot of stuff in there. I spoke about detox. I spoke about golden milk. I threw some new things at you. But I hopefully did it in a way that nobody's confused and nobody's freaking out except Billy. So the routine supersets functional 6, optional progression. Cardio, you'll continue with your aerobic movement, the bursts, and the sprints. You're going to do this every day. You can have a recovery day on Monday if you want. But that should be an active recovery day, not just lay around. Meals, we're transitioning from phase 2 to phase 3. Supplements, vitamin C, vitamin D3, essential fatty acids, immune boosters, but now we're also going to add in probiotics, enzymes, and NAC. If anybody wants information about the Thrive product, just ask in the group, and tactfully I will discuss it. I promise it's not a sales pitch. I just feel like I'm doing you a disservice if I don't share it with you. Use the manifesting tool daily. Sleep. Drink plenty of water. Stay hydrated. Laugh. Love. And listen. I just completed this exercise. We talk about listen to music, and I've shared with you that music has always been a big part of my life, and there are certain songs that can really instantly bring me to an emotional state based on whatever I associate it with. But there's this exercise that's going around Facebook, and for anybody who remembers record albums, I try to explain this to my daughter. Like, the album itself was a relationship. It wasn't just a song. It wasn't just a number of songs. It was waiting for the day the album was released. It was the artwork on the album cover. It was the credits. It was sometimes the lyrics were in there, and you really became attached to the album, and you kept them. You had this collection of albums. So I'm revealing myself to be a dinosaur, but it's lost when we now have Spotify. Like, we still have the music. So the exercise was every day you're supposed to just post a picture of one of the albums that was instrumental in your development. And at first I didn't want to do it. I'm like, oh man, it's like a chain letter thing. But I started to do it, and I have to tell you, it took me down so many pathways of memories. I mean, unbelievable. And even put me in touch with some people on Facebook that I haven't seen since 2nd or 3rd grade. So music for me is a really good way to access positive emotions. And I think it is for all of us. So when I say laugh, and I tell you to watch a funny movie and hang out with people who make you laugh and think about things that were funny, really, this is incredibly healing. And when I say love, oxytocin, man, you need that connection. And I said to you, whether you're hanging out with your dog or you're hanging out with the person you love, but don't hang out with the people that really get on your nerves and irritate you because they add to your stress load and your stress bucket. And if the problem is they live in your house, then you go to music. You go, okay, I'm not going to focus on that. I'm going to go to music that makes me feel good. So I mean it when I say laugh, love, and listen. Here is your prescription for the week. Have fun. Transition. I don't mean this in any way other than nutritionally, unless you choose to, and that's your own issue. We will continue to do the exercise routine with the optional change. Don't neglect the cool down. You want to continue after your aerobic exercise to keep moving until your heart rate is down below 90, and if it's taking a long time, that will diminish. The time it takes to recover will diminish, and that's really important in terms of moving you back toward health, away from disease, reversing inflammation, and improving your optimal, bringing you to your best, let's say. Consider the supplements that I shared tonight, adding in prebiotics, probiotics, enzymes. You certainly do want to do something anti-inflammatory, but remember the golden milk beginning at the end of this week is going to serve that purpose. And stay tuned. Follow this. Stay with the coaches. Watch Tasso tomorrow. Stay connected to all of the coaches. And join me next week. Until we speak again, love the process, love yourself, and be better, everybody. Bye-bye.